Hi guys, viewers, our friends of this channel. Are you all with me to start something very interesting again? Good, good, awesome, awesome. Hope you all are enjoying this series, right? And the important question, right? Are you all ready to become industry level software developers? Yes? Good, 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 good. Okay, let's do it, right? So I'm so excited to take you through this video lecture, and let's do it now, right? So the lesson is dealing with multiple screens, lesson 2, navigation controllers, simple example. And we'll be using Xcode version 11.4.1 for practicals and Apple developer docs. And this is the lesson 2 of dealing with multiple screens. So if you have not done lesson 1, please have a look at lesson 1 in this video series before you do this, because this is a continuation of that, right? So we are using the same project and doing some modification to include navigation controllers, right? So let's look at the lesson quickly. So in this session you will learn what is a navigation controller and why you need, and how do you create navigation controllers, right? And a practical example, right? So the lesson plan is a practical of a simple navigation controller, right? So let's look into that. So what I'm going to do is, as I said, this is a continuation of the previous lesson, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of the project of the previous lecture. So dealing with multiple screens, the lesson 1, I'm going to make a copy of it, right? A copy of the project, right? And I'm going to name it as lesson 2. I'm going to remove the word copy and I'm going to say what this lesson is, right? So it is lesson 2, navigation controllers, right? So I'm going to put that as part of the heading title, right? So simple example, lesson 2. Okay, so lesson 2, navigation controllers. Okay, simple example. And let me go into that. So I just took a copy of it so that it's a continuation of the previous one. So I'm going to put that name here for the project name as well, right? So the rest can be left as it is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Xcode and I'm going to start. Okay, I'm going to open the project in Xcode, right? So let me go into Xcode and I would say, okay, I'm going to open the project, right? So file, open, right? So in Xcode, I'm going to say file open, right? So make sure in Xcode you say file open, and then get that, I'm going to get that copy which I made, right? Cool, cool. Dealing with multiple screens, lesson 2, this is what I want, right? Great. Okay guys, right? So it's getting open, and let's give it. So this is the previous project. Have a look at it if you didn't look, lesson 1, before you do this. So now in the previous project we discussed something very important, right? That was, now if I run this, right? So if I run this, right? So I'm fine with this, but if you need something like, say you are in a login screen and you log in and you go to the main screen, but let us say you have a couple of options, and say if you click on option, just think a scenario like this. Say that what the screen get loads is option 1, and say if the user needs to click and dig into detail about this whatever you are offering. So 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 at the moment I'm just calling a view controller, right? So it's series of view controllers I'm calling, right? A series of view controllers, say starting from, let's say starting from even from here, right? So this view controller calls this green color view controller. Then when I click option 1, this green color view controller calls the orange color view controller, right? But the thing is, then there's a series of orange color screens, meaning a particular option. So in this case, sometimes it's suitable to embed these orange color screens. How many of them I have? So say it depends, right? So it's series of orange color screens into a navigation controller, so that what happens is they get stacked, when you call one on top of the other, and they are being kind of look like a group, in a stack, like a push and pop set of operations. So let me do it, and then you will understand, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to embed this series into a navigation controller. So basically what I'm doing is I'm starting with the first on in the line. So this is the option, beginning of say option 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to say on the Xcode editor, I'm going to say embed in navigation controller. So this is how you embed a view controller into a navigation controller in storyboard, right? In storyboard, right? Because remember, there are two ways of doing this. One programming style is using the storyboard and doing things. Other style is you don't use a storyboard. So what is the storyboard I'm talking? The storyboard I'm talking is this. You know, like for example, if you expand this, you know, if you expand, see you got some files, right, like this, and then this is the storyboard. See, you see main.storyboard, right? So I my base is the storyboard, but there's another programming style where your base is not the storyboard, where you do everything by coding, right, by creating objects, classes, objects of say view controllers and navigation. So this is not that approach. This is based on storyboard, right? So if you look at some referencing in Apple developer docs or internet, you will see two different kinds of examples, and sometimes you might get confused when you try to get code snippets from internet, that you might mix code snippets which are related to storyboard style programming, and you might mix them with non-storyboard style programming, meaning programming without a storyboard, you know, from the scratch. So sometimes if you mix the two types of commands, you might get unexpected runtime behavior, right? So I'm telling it so that you are aware now that when you look at a code sample or a reference, you have to see whether it's storyboard, based on storyboard style programming and invoking creating objects, or is it from without using storyboard and from the scratch, right? So this approach is using the storyboard, right? So just to show you now, in the storyboard, if you want to embed this into a navigation controller, so what is a navigation controller? I will first do this, then I will explain to you. So what I say is editor, embed in navigation control. See what's going to happen now. The moment I embed that in a navigation controller, see it puts something called, see you can see, it put a component called navigation controller, and see the difference. What happened was, if you remember, look at the purple color screens, and now look at the difference between all the orange color ones. Can you see there's a bar, like a navigation bar, or kind of, you know, there's a tool bar or like a navigation bar embed now into the orange color screens. Can you see the mouse, right? So if you look at this, so you can see, okay, if I click on this, it says it's a view controller. If I click on this, it's like a navigation item, right? So you call, technically speaking, a navigation item, right? So a navigation item has been added. That is because of, that is due to the navigation controller. But see, the purple screens does not have it, right? So what is a navigation controller and what does it do? What happens is this now, right? So now I will run and show what would happen, you know, to the orange color screens, right? So if I run this, guys, let's see what's going to happen, right? So say you log in, for example, and then say you go to the landing screen, right? Say you click on option 1. Now you can see that the navigation item is there, right? And basically, if you click next, see what happens. If I click next, you are going to the second screen. Can you see on the navigation item, you get a back option, right? So what this means is, when you have a navigation controller, when you go from the first orange screen to the second, now I'm in the second screen, what happens is the second screen will be stacked, will be pushed into the stack of the navigation controller. So if you recall data structures and algorithms, a stack, you know, where you can push items and pop items. So when you say back, what happens is it pops that, right? It pops that. So when you go next, it push the second screen into the navigation controller stack. But if you click back, which came automatically, the back button came automatically because you are in a navigation controller. I did not put that, it came automatically. That's the beauty of it, right? And it's programmed automatically. So when you click back, it pops, meaning it removes that screen and it takes you to the previous screen. So when you compare this with our previous situation, I can show that with the purple color screens. But before that, if I go to the, even if I go to the third screen, see, If I click back, so it comes to this, it pops that, because it removes it, and when I click back, it removes it and goes to the first screen, right? But here you don't get it, because now you're at the beginning of the navigation controller sequence. So from here, if you want to go back, you will just swipe the, with iOS 13 onwards, you'll just swipe it down. So you will be taken to the main screen, right? You'll be taken to the main screen, meaning landing screen. But without a navigation controller, what happened earlier, even in the lesson 1, was I can show it here in option 2. When I click option 2, okay, I'm in the first screen, I'm clicking next, but as you can see, I'm not getting a navigation item at the top, because I have not put it in a navigation controller. So basically, this is the difference, right? So still here you can swipe this down, like this, and come back. Once again, if I go to the navigation controllers, where if I click next, I can click swipe and click back. I can click, and one more thing. So if I swipe this down now, right? If I swipe this down, for example, this stack, let's see what's going to happen. So if I swipe this down, it takes away the whole stack, it takes away the whole stack of that, of that series, if you swipe down. But let us say, if I click back, it takes away only one by one, right? One by one, right? So if you need this kind of a behavior in your app, so it depends on your app, like, if you say, for example, if you are on option and you want to dig into detail, so digging into detail is like pushing into a stack like this, so that you can go back if you want, right? So you can click forward and then come back. So if you want that kind of a behavior, ideally you have to use a navigation controller. So let's do it now for the purple color screen set as well. So now you are with me, guys. So click on this and say editor, embed in navigation controller, and then it embeds this as well, in a navigation controller, and now you will get the same behavior, guys. You can see you got the navigation item and you got the stuff, right? So if I run this now, you should see that you will get that that behavior even for the option 2. See, guys, now you got the navigation item at the top. You click next, you got the back, right? So this is the purpose of a navigation controller. So the navigation controller, why we need is, if you need to stack a series of screens, group them, and stack them, and push and pop. That's why you use a navigation controller. So it depends on what you want to do. And then you could put a few things, like you can put a title. Let us say, you can say OP1, for example, right? Shortened form OP1, let's say first, right? Option. I'm just giving shortened form, right? Option 1, just to show you something. So if I put a title, right? Title here, and then the title comes. So if I put the title as, say, this is the OP1 second screen, right? So I will just shorten from second, and then let's say I will go and put to this, like the title, this is the OP1 third, right? Just showing you something simple. So what happens now is, if I run this, right? If I run this, so I get to put the 3 titles, right, to the navigation item. So if I click on the orange color option set, so you get OP1 first, because I put the title, right? So if I click next, now while I'm in OP1 second, instead of calling it as back, it says OP1 first, so that it means that you can go to the previous option, right? If I click next, while I'm here, it says you can go back to the second option, right? So see, it looks nice, right? So guys, so that looks nice. And then you can do one more thing. What you can do is, if you want, you can click on this navigation item and say, now, rather than, so now it shows, if you run this, now it shows, because you put the title, now it shows, instead of a back button, it shows the title, isn't it, of the previous screen, right? So when you go to the second one, it says OP1 first. But if you don't like that, what you can do is, if you want to see something else like back or something, what you do is, you can say, click this. Let us say, if you don't want that to happen, say, I will do it for this. So if you don't want it to happen for this, you can just click on whatever it is and say the back button, whatever you want to display on it, say back, for example. Then what happens is, you should see it in a little while. See, when I do the change here, it got changed. I will show you, like, I will just expand this a bit and show you. So I did change it here, right, for this, right? When I change it for this, See, the subsequent screen has become back because what you told is you want to see when someone coming back to this, you want to see it as back, right? So when you put it here, so if you go to the third screen, you will see the back instead of someone seeing the title, right? So if I run this now, I did it for the second screen, which means someone coming back to the second screen need to see it as back. So which means now I'm in the second screen, right? So but I did I did the change to the second screen, meaning when I go to the some other screen, someone coming back will see back instead of the second option second, right? So that's the beauty of it, right? So this is where you use the navigation controller, right? And this exercise we did using and if I remove it, it removes the whole stack, as I said, right? So this is once again a simple navigation controller exercise, right? It's not a fancy one, it's simple, but it gives you a clear idea of applying this in your coding exercises, right? So let's look what we discuss overall. So let's look at, so now you know what's a navigation controller, why you need, how to create, and practical code examples, right? So we did this and the conclusion. So we learned about navigation controllers and we did a practical, right? But keep in mind, this practical, we didn't do any programming, like we didn't write any code, right? This is fine for simple apps, but if your app becomes complex, let us say before you go from one screen to another screen, let us say if you need some validation to be done and things like that. Say for example, let's say let me give one example. So if I run this, let's say now moving forward, I'm going to talk moves. So if I click next, it's just going to the landing page. But if this was like a login button, before you straight away take to the next page using a storyboard segue, you need to do some validations, isn't it, right? If it was a, just assume it's a login button, you can't just send like this, right? In that case, you may not use storyboard segues, right? In that case, you have to programmatically go from this view controller to the second view controller, right? So you have to programmatically move from one view controller into another view controller. So that is what we'll be teaching in the next video in lesson number 3, right? If you need to do something like that, then just direct storyboard segues will not suit you. So our next lecture on this video series will be presenting and dismissing view controllers in a storyboard using code, right? Using code, still a storyboard option, right? So let's meet with that next tutorial, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and you gain some really great knowledge. So we have reached the end of the video, and if you're unclear of any of the areas, please have a look at the other videos in this video lecture series, and let's meet with another exercise. See you until that.